If you're thinking about moving to Texas, you've probably considered Pflugerville. This city has been growing in popularity and population for reasons that are very well deserved, including affordable housing, good schools, lots of activities, just in general fun stuff to do. But it's obvious that there are a lot who are considering moving here that are not taking into account the downsides of living in Pflugerville, which is what this video is going to be focusing on and correcting so you can make the right decision for your family. Hi, I'm Tiffany Moore. I'm a local realtor right here in Austin, Texas. I help people from all over the world buy and sell homes here. And every week I put out videos showcasing what it's like to live in Austin and the real estate market. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and reach out to me if you are thinking about moving anywhere in the Austin area. So let's get to talking about why you shouldn't move to Pflugerville. First off, if you saw the name of the town written down before you heard it pronounced, you would probably have a difficult time pronouncing it. People have come up with so many different ways to pronounce it, like Flunterville, Pflugerville, Pflugerville, all those things. So I'm here to set the record straight. The P is silent and it's called Pflugerville. It's named after a German immigrant that kind of started the town. So it's a German name, hence the spelling. So if you don't want to spend your time correcting people's pronunciation of the name of your town you live in, or even trying to remember how to say it, Pflugerville may not be the best option for you. Obviously that's a joke. Who cares how people say the name of your town? But in all seriousness, one thing that you should consider before moving to Pflugerville is the size of the city. So if you're looking for something small and cutesy where everyone knows everyone and everyone's in your pocket or in your business, Pflugerville is probably not going to be what you're looking for. So it's small for a city, but compared to other cities in Texas, it's quite big and it's really quite spread out, even though the population is only 64,000. So despite that fact, there's enough space to house new people and families. Pflugerville is not the city for those who like to know everything about their neighbors and stop by the local diner and get the latest gossip from everyone. It's not that small. Like, it is a city, it's just not a city like Dallas. So don't get me wrong, you can get involved in activities that make the city feel more like a community, but the city is really diverse and it's basically a melting pot of different cultures. So you should be able to find your community, whoever that is. Plus there's usually a parade or a festival to attend every month, or at the least every other month. However, it is somewhat of a large city, so you're going to have to make the effort to be involved in people's lives if you want to be part of the community. So kind of ironically, the fact that Pflugerville is big does not automatically mean that it's the most urban city there is. It's actually somewhat rural and has a lot to do with the fact that it's still a growing city. So by rural, I don't mean that it doesn't have basic amenities and facilities. Pflugerville does have a good number of schools, good restaurants, theaters, shopping, all that stuff, coffee shops. There's a number of places where you can go to have fun and to just do fun activities, hang out with a friend, things like that. If you're looking to have a fun day, there's tons of places like that in Pflugerville. However, it doesn't have a big city vibe and it feels kind of remote. It's just not as close to the heart of Austin as some might prefer. And this might have something to do with the fact that there are still ranches in the city, but we are going to get to that later on. So hopefully as more people continue to move to the city and the population increases, things will change in that regard. However, there's no saying exactly when this will change and what will happen when the change does come. So consider another city if you want to live in a truly big city or if you want to live in a truly tiny city, because Pflugerville is neither of those things. Following that, you should know that Pflugerville is not walkable. I talk to a lot of folks who are moving out here from Seattle or from New York, and everyone tells me, like, it's really important for me to have a walkable community. There's really no area in Austin that's going to be walkable unless you're living like downtown in a condo next to a Trader Joe's. Even downtown or in Austin proper, you're going to need a car to get around unless you plan on Ubering everywhere. So, I mean, it's still a car. So you should know that Pflugerville is not a walkable town. In most areas, you're going to need a car to move around and to run errands. And considering how high gas fees are in the rest of the country, it's really not that bad in Pflugerville. So right now, as of today, when I'm filming this, the end of October 2022, gas is like $3.05 a gallon for regular unleaded gas. And I know other places in the country, it's a little bit higher. Some places I've seen it a little bit lower, which is insane. But just a year ago, even 6 months ago, gas was like $4, $4.50 a gallon. It's really not that bad anymore. So Pflugerville is not walkable. It's also not really bikeable. There aren't really proper bike lanes in Pflugerville. So if you don't have a car, you would be using like Uber and Lyft a lot. Austin doesn't have a very robust public transportation system. So we do have kind of like a light rail. It doesn't have that many stops on it. It's growing, but it's not really growing out in the Pflugerville area. It's growing more west in like the Leander area. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So as far as like grocery stores go and necessities, things like that, there is an H-E-B, which is our like Austin grocery store, literally like 5 to 7 minutes from every house you could possibly own in and around Austin. So don't worry about that. You're going to be close to groceries. If you don't have a car, Ubering and lifting to and from H-E-B is not going to be a big deal. It's all the other things that you might want to do or have to do that you're going to need a car for. I mentioned that we don't have a very robust public transportation system. We don't have a subway. We barely have a light rail. So these are some things to keep in mind. If you don't want to drive or you don't want to be in cars, you want something that's more walkable or bicyclable, Pflugerville is not really going to be that town. The other thing to keep in mind if you're thinking about moving to Pflugerville is property taxes. And this isn't limited to Pflugerville or even to Austin in general. This is kind of a Texas thing, but property taxes are significant in the Austin area. So again, it's the end of October when I'm filming this. Our property tax bills were just released. So we pay our property taxes in arrears, which means we pay at the end of the year. So our 2022 tax bill came out. We found out earlier in the year what our taxes were going to be, and everyone had an opportunity to protest that if they thought that the assessed tax value wasn't accurate. So now we've gone through that process. We got our bills and our property taxes are due to be paid by the end of January. I just did a video earlier this week about how significant of a jump some of my clients' houses took as far as their property taxes. So what happens is the county assesses the value of the home for taxes. It's not the market value. So Texas is a non-disclosure state, which means that we don't disclose the sales data for any real estate to any government entity, really to anyone. So the government doesn't get any notices on what homes have sold for. It's not recorded in any public documents or anything. So when the county is trying to assess the value of your home for taxes, they don't have a lot of data to go off of. So it's not the market value of your home, it's the assessed value for taxes. Two of my clients had significant, and I'm sure there's more, I'm just talking about two specifically, had significant jumps in the assessed value of their home from 2021 to 2022. One of my clients' houses was assessed at $228 in 2021, and that value jumped to $475 this year. Another client had an even bigger jump. Their house was assessed at $436 in 2021, and for 2022, they assessed it at $808. That's like almost a 100% increase. So what this means is you are paying taxes on the new assessed value, and if your property tax rate is 2.9%, which is basically like 3%, you're looking at $12,000 to like $30,000 for your taxes, depending on the value of your home. So it's really important to understand what your taxes are when you buy the home, but it's still not going to tell you what your taxes are going to be the next year or the year after that. So we had an idea what the taxes would be in the year that we bought the home, and who's to say what happens in the next few years. So it's just something to keep in mind and to be aware of when you're buying a home in Pflugerville specifically, but also really anywhere in the Austin area or anywhere in Texas. Property taxes are significant. And if you have a mortgage, your mortgage company is going to break up your property tax bill by month and just have you pay it month by month. They set this money aside in an escrow account, which they then use to pay your taxes to the tax assessor. If you paid cash for your home, you obviously don't have a mortgage, so you have to set aside that money on your own so you have it to pay for your property taxes. So something else, if you are thinking about moving to Pflugerville, just something to really be aware of is like, yes, Texas has high property taxes. We don't have income tax. So that is kind of the trade-off, but it is definitely a con for a lot of people and something that you need to be aware of. Another reason you may not want to move to Pflugerville is, you are probably aware of all the growth that's going on in Austin. Tesla built the Gigafactory, and Indeed is here, Facebook, Google, all these companies are here. And if you're interested in working at one of these like huge mega corporations, Pflugerville is not going to be the town for you. So these big tech companies and financial companies and just companies in general, they are moving to the Austin area, but they're not really moving to Pflugerville, at least not yet. So Amazon has a huge distribution center in Pflugerville. That's probably one of the main employers for that level of employment in the area. But that's kind of the only big city that's actually in Pflugerville. Most other companies are going to be in Austin, or the tech companies are moving to being outside of Austin, closer to like Cedar Park and Leander. That's where most of the growth is going to be. There are a lot of companies moving to Pflugerville, but just not those big name companies that we think of when we think of all the growth that's going on in Austin. Another reason you want to reconsider your decision to move to Pflugerville has to do with shopping and the stores. So the stores in Pflugerville are kind of basic. Not basic as in they don't contain enough, but basic as in they're a little generic and kind of what you would find anywhere else in any other suburb. So you might be asking yourself, why is this a bad thing? Well, if you're asking that question, then it's not a problem. It's probably not an issue for you. But to answer, it's not really a bad thing unless you like those specialty stores, unless that's your bread and butter. You're looking to find something unique that your friends aren't going to find, or you're looking for special buys, or you have a specific taste in fashion or in decor or things like that. So if you're looking for something very unique that has a specific style, the shops and stores that you're going to find in Pflugerville, for the most part, I'm speaking generally, may not be the best fit. You're going to find those shops closer to Austin, especially like in the downtown area or in Austin proper that has a lot of like independent shopping and businesses and things like that. Pretty much anywhere in Austin proper is full of independent shops and restaurants and all that good stuff. But as you get further out into the suburbs like Pflugerville or Cedar Park, things like that, there's less of that. There's just less of that. There's more stores like Target and At Home and Ashley's Furniture and things like that. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you're looking for something that's like very unique and has a ton of character and no one else could ever possibly buy this item, whatever it is, you may not find that in Pflugerville. Basically what I'm saying is that there aren't many artsy stores or foreign shops or mom and pop shops in Pflugerville. You mostly have your generic like big commercial stores, which might not be enough for some people. Pflugerville is somewhat close to Austin. It's probably about a 20-minute drive to wherever you want to get to in Austin, depending on traffic. So for whatever reason you do want to go to Austin to get those like special, unique specialty items, you can totally do that and get that stuff and just drive it back to Pflugerville, like no problem at all. Another thing you might not like about Pflugerville is the weather. And we've talked about this in a couple other videos. It can be quite discouraging. So Pflugerville is hot, and granted it's hot in all of Texas, but Pflugerville really takes the cake. So there have been a few summers here where the weather has been 100 degrees for about 30 days consistently. I would say this past summer, and not just I would say, factually, this past summer is like one of the hottest summers that Austin has had in recorded history. So it started at 100 degrees. I remember the day, it was June 4th. So I remember saying like, are we at 100 degrees already? It's June 4th. Yes, we were. So it was 100 degrees on June 4th, and that lasted pretty much through the end of September, early October. It's not until the past few weeks that we started getting highs of like 85, 79, which is still pretty warm compared to the rest of the country. So yes, the weather in Pflugerville and in Austin in general is very hot in the summer. The good news is that our winters are usually pretty mild. So they can be kind of wet, windy, but we may get like 1 or 2 days of snow total. It's probably not going to stick. We get more ice than anything else. So the mild winter kind of balances the crazy hot summers that we have here. So if you cannot deal with the heat, if you're much more of like a cold and snow person, and you don't mind scraping the ice off your windshield, things like that, Pflugerville may not be the best fit for you. Okay, said we were going to get to this, and here we are. You should also know that we have a lot of cows in Pflugerville. Yeah, there are a number of ranches in Pflugerville, as I mentioned earlier. So you could find cows just like moving about on the road or in ranches and farms just as you're driving along in town. So this is definitely some people's dream, especially considering that you could just walk up and see the cow and take pictures of the longhorns. Like, probably don't touch them. The owners probably wouldn't like that. But from a distance, like, yeah, a lot of people that I drive around Austin have never seen, like, they're city folk. And they've never seen cows up this close. They've never seen the big longhorn steer. So it's definitely a sight to behold if you've never seen it before. But if that is not really your jam, if you're not an animal person or really not just a cow person, Pflugerville may not be for you. The good news, bad news is that as we're getting so much development in Austin, especially in Pflugerville, and then as we drive further north up into like the Leander, Liberty Hill, Georgetown areas, those farms are getting bought up more and more by developers. So over time, there won't be a lot of cows. There won't be a lot of farmland, which has kind of been, I have mixed feelings about seeing that. Like I've watched this growth happen even over the past like 18 months to 2 years, as they have a lot of new construction going on up in Leander, Liberty Hill, those places, that it's like I've watched this area go from like straight farmland to, oh, now we have a gas station. Oh, now we have a grocery store. Well, now we have coffee shops and restaurants and car washes and laundromats and HEBs and everything like that. It's happened very quickly. So that growth is coming as Austin continues to grow. There's going to be less and less farmland. There's going to be more developed areas. So depending on your perspective, that's a good thing or a bad thing, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, you're a little bit torn like me. So another thing is Pflugerville is pretty quiet. So not like graveyard quiet, but the city has a really strict noise ordinance, stricter than a lot of other places in Texas. So the whole of Texas has what's called quiet hours, which is a period when you can't make an unreasonable noise. And quiet hours are usually from 10:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. But in Pflugerville, the quiet hours are even stricter regarding how much noise can be made. So if you're the kind of person that loves to go to sleep to the sound of the city, Pflugerville might not be for you. Like if you need the sirens and the alarms and the car doors slamming and the people yelling, you're not going to find that in Pflugerville. So from everything that I've mentioned today, you might have gathered that this is a really family-oriented, family-friendly community. So if you're looking to move with the whole family, this could be a really great option. The schools are good for kids. There's a lot of places for adults to hang out. There's coffee shops, restaurants, things like that. The city is pretty quiet and it's pretty safe. It's more affordable than Austin proper. But if you've got teenagers, they may be bored. There may not be a whole lot to do, and they're gonna have to go into Austin to do something or have some fun, which really, Austin's like 20 minutes away. Like it's not that big of a deal. But if you're hoping to live somewhere where like everything is close and you can walk and you can go here and there, like Pflugerville is just not gonna be that town. So if you're thinking about moving to Austin and you're interested in the suburbs, check out this video next that's all about living in Cedar Park. And if you have any specific questions about Pflugerville, about moving to Austin, anything like that, reach out to me. My contact info is below and let's set up a time to talk. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.